Mom said I was a failure until I shocked her with the $80K I paid to save our family home. The air was heavy with the weight of disbelief. The old floorboards creaked under the shock of it all as Samantha stood in the living room. Hands trembling, heart racing. $80,000. That's what it took to save a home teetering on the brink of foreclosure. When her mother Linda had called her a failure last week, those words stung sharp like a bee's sting, echoing through Samantha's mind with every step she took down the hall. Each time she hesitated, she could feel that disapproval pressing down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. "You'll never amount to anything," Linda had spat, frustration lacing her voice. But today everything changed. Flickering memories of the past danced in front of her eyes, the moments spent laughing in the kitchen, the warmth of home-cooked meals, and the whispers of late-night conversations. But shadows now lurked in that warmth. Dust motes floated in the air, swirling in beams of light that felt more like judgment than comfort. The desperation was palpable. The threat of losing everything hung over her like a storm cloud. How had it come to this? What darkness lay under the surface of their comfortable life? Just then, a sudden knock on the door sent her heart racing. It was so jarring, it sliced through the heavy silence with piercing clarity. Who could it be? A wave of anxiety washed over her. Was it the bank? Would they take her mother's home? With a deep breath, she opened the door. It was her friend, Maya, wide-eyed and brimming with excitement. "Samantha, you won't believe what I found out," Maya exclaimed, her voice a mix of urgency and joy. But before she could dive into the details, Samantha's phone buzzed violently on the table, a reminder of the dread that lurked around the corner. "I need to tell you something important," Maya continued, glancing at the phone. "But first, let us keep your spirits up. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." "Listen," Maya said fiercely, pulling Samantha back into the moment. "I heard there's a way to raise funds fast, a way to save your home without losing everything. Have you thought about a crowdfunding campaign?" Her expression was intense, almost desperate, as if she believed this could be the answer. But Samantha's head spun. Could that really work? Would people help? In the midst of rising panic, a glimmer of hope flickered. Could a mere online campaign turn things around? It felt impossible, but maybe that was just the kind of miracle she needed. Just as she was about to respond, her mother's voice echoed again in her mind. "You're no good at this." As the tears threatened to spill, she locked eyes with Maya, who smiled reassuringly. "You're not a failure, you're a fighter. Let us do this together." The weight of her mother's words pressed heavily against her heart. But was it possible that she could truly transform this disaster into something remarkable? Samantha felt a surge of determination ignite in her chest, pushing out the doubt. It was time for a fight, and she knew deep down she would need every ounce of strength she could muster. But just before she could voice her plans, another knock echoed through the house, harder this time. Both girls froze. A sense of dread washed over them, thickening the air. They exchanged glances, the thrill of adventure battling against an ominous silence. What waited beyond that door? Maya's eyes widened, and a nervous laugh escaped her lips. "What if it's someone from the bank?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Samantha's heart skipped as she turned toward the door, paralyzed by what lay beyond. "Do you want me to open it?" Maya asked, inching closer. "No," Samantha breathed, her throat tightening. What if they're here to take my mom's home?" She felt every muscle clench, anxiety chopping through her like a knife. Another knock echoed, more insistent this time. Samantha's phone buzzed again on the table, the screen lighting up with a message from the bank, painfully ironic timing. With a shuddering breath, she reached for the doorknob. The urge to bolt and hide was overwhelming, but she couldn't. Not this time. She turned the knob and pulled the door open just a crack, peering through the small opening. Her breath caught. It wasn't a bank representative. The figure outside was a stranger, a well-dressed man with slicked back hair and a sharp, almost predatory smile. "Good afternoon, miss. I hope I'm not interrupting," he said. His voice smooth like silk yet dripping with something unsettling. Samantha's instincts screamed at her to slam the door shut, but the man stepped forward, blocking her escape. "I'm here about your mother's home. There's something we need to discuss." "Who are you?" She managed to get out, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm a friend," he replied, leaning slightly closer. "Just a friend looking to help." But his eyes held an unsettling gleam, something that set off alarm bells in Samantha's mind. Maya shifted behind her, grabbing Samantha's arm. "Maybe we should call the police now," Samantha snapped, surprising herself with the force of her tone. She felt exposed, vulnerable, and filled with a mix of fear and determination. "What do you want?" The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Your mother, you see. She's in a bit of a tight spot. I have an offer that could save her home if you're willing to listen." Samantha's heart raced. What did he mean? Was this a trick? Or worse, a threat? "We don't need any help." But I think you do," he interrupted smoothly. "You've already learned the real value of money, haven't you? $80,000 down after all. But it's not just about the cash, Samantha. It's about making the right connections." Every word sent her pulse racing. Who was he? And how did he know about the money? "What do you know about me?" she challenged, stepping into the doorway more confidently. He tilted his head, glancing over her shoulder at Maya, who was visibly shaking. "I'm simply proposing a partnership. You have potential, Samantha. The kind that could lead to much, much more." "What kind of partnership?" His smile widened, revealing something far too sinister. "Let us just say, I have a way to ensure your mother never has to worry about a roof over her head again. But it will come with a price." Samantha's stomach churned as all the possibilities raced ahead of her. What did she have to lose? It seemed everything was already slipping through her fingers. Maya tugged at her arm, pulling her back. "You don't have to listen to him. This is wrong." But the stranger stepped forward, leaning in closer. "Think carefully, Samantha. What if I could offer you more than just saving the home? What if I could help you fulfill your dreams?" For a fleeting moment, Samantha felt a spark of curiosity. But then it faded under the weight of the stranger's intent gaze. "What's the catch?" she asked, her voice trembling yet steady. "Not what you think," he shot back, his tone darkening. "But let us just say, if you refuse, you might not like the results." Her mind raced, caught in a whirlwind of anxiety and uncertainty. But now she had to decide. Was she desperate enough to risk everything for an unknown promise? With a heavy heart, she stepped back, her resolve hardening. "You're not welcome here." As she went to shut the door, he smiled, but there was nothing friendly about it. "Think about my offer, Samantha. The clock is ticking." With that, he turned, striding away. Samantha felt a shiver run down her spine. The moment he was out of sight, anxiety churned in her gut. "What just happened?" Maya whispered, terror lacing her voice. Samantha's mind spiraled. She knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. What did he mean by a price? What fate would be tied to that offer? As the heaviness of the moment settled in the air, the weight of their next steps hung heavy before them like a storm waiting to unleash its fury. The question was, how would they respond to the thunder rumbling just beyond the horizon? The afternoon light dimmed behind the clouds, casting an ominous glow into the small room. Samantha and Maya stood frozen, the remnants of the stranger's chill lingering between them like fog. Every second stretched into eternity, and the question hung heavy in the air: what now? Did that just happen? Maya finally broke the silence, her voice shaking. Who was he? What kind of partnership could he possibly mean? Samantha felt an icy tendril of fear snake through her. "I don't know. But he seemed dangerous." She glanced at the door. "And he knows too much." Maya shook her head, pushing her dark curls away from her eyes. "We can't let him back. He's probably associated with the bank, maybe even the one threatening your mom." The thought sent a fresh wave of anxiety crashing over Samantha. What a nightmare. Facing off against the very entity threatening to dismantle her life. Yet, the stranger's offer lingered in her mind, clinging to her thoughts like a moth to flame. Could she truly save her mother's home? Would she have to make a deal with someone like him? "What do we do?" Maya asked, gnawing at her nails, frustration and fear mixing in her expression. Samantha's heart raced. We need to gather more information about him. And the bank. Maybe someone at the bank can clear this up. Explained. Suddenly the phone buzzed again. Samantha grabbed it, her heart jumping. The subject line was chilling. Urgent notice regarding foreclosure. She clicked on it, her hands trembling. They're giving us 1 week, she breathed, her chest tightening. 1 week before they start the process. Maya's eyes widened, filled with disbelief. That's insane. What will we do? We can't be out in a week. Focus, Samantha said, forcing her voice to steady. They needed a plan and panic wouldn't help them. We have 1 week to figure out what to do with this offer. We have to find out what exactly he meant about a partnership. Are you serious? Maya's face twisted with concern. What if it's a trap? What if he just wants to exploit you? Samantha bit her lip, recalling the gleam of that man's eyes. He was a predator. I know. But can we really afford to ignore it? If there's even a chance he can help, we could be saving more than just the house. Maya shook her head. But at what cost? You could end up in a worse situation. I can't just sit and wait for the bank to take everything from us, Samantha said, the desperation creeping into her voice. We have to take control of this. It's our only option. Suddenly a thought struck her. What if we try to track him down? We could go to the area where he worked. Or before she finished, there was another knock at the door, this time more forceful. Their hearts raced, adrenaline surging. Maya pressed against the wall, eyes wide. What if it's him? Samantha swallowed hard, glancing again toward the door. There was no logical explanation for why anyone else would be there now. Fear clawed at her insides. She couldn't let this stranger back in. Maya took a step back, her breath catching. Please don't open it, Sam. We can't. Yet the door seemed to pulse with urgency. She could feel every beat of her heart thundering in her ears. The unknown stretching before her, a treacherous path with no certain end. Who's there? She called out, attempting to anchor her fear. It's me, came a voice, one that offered no cold comfort. I need to talk. Her heart dropped. It was him. The stranger. Look, you want to know about my offer? His voice was chillingly calm, unsettling in its certainty. Meet me at the diner on 5th in an hour. There's more than meets the eye, Samantha. Trust me or face the consequences. Before Samantha could respond, the echoes of his footsteps faded into the distance, leaving her frozen in place. Sam, what are we gonna do? Maya's voice wavered, filled with dread. Samantha's mind raced, her heart pounding like a drum. Could she really trust him? Could she afford not to? They were out of time, the clock was ticking once more. Would she take the risk? In just 1 hour her entire future could change. The storm was here, and she could feel it closing in around her like a tightening noose. What choices lay ahead, and at what cost? The ticking clock echoed in the silence, a relentless reminder that time was slipping away. Samantha's heart raced as she exchanged glances with Maya, both of them caught in a spiral of fear and uncertainty. The urge to run, to flee from this stranger. This danger clashed with the desperate need to save her mother's home. What are we going to do? Maya asked again, the tremor in her voice sending a shiver down Samantha's spine. Are you really considering it? Samantha swallowed hard, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. Meeting him could either lead to salvation or disaster. We don't have a choice. I can't just ignore the deadline. We could lose everything in a week. But him? Maya paced the room, her fingers weaving through her curls as if trying to untangle her thoughts. What if he's a scam? What if he puts you in deeper trouble? Samantha rubbed her temples, frustration bubbling up. I get it. He's dangerous. But we're already in trouble, and what if he really can help? Maya stopped suddenly, her breath catching. What if we gather intel first? We might find someone who knows him, or maybe some dirt on the bank. The idea sparked something in Samantha. You're right, but it has to be quick. Rushing out of the small room, they stepped onto the dimly lit streets that seemed to echo their anxious thoughts. Fear gnawed at them like an insatiable hunger, but urgency propelled them forward. As they walked, the shadows of the evening settled in around them. The world felt off-kilter. Every passerby seemed to watch them with knowing eyes. Samantha quickened her pace, her breaths coming fast and shallow. Trust was thin, but time was thinning faster. Turning onto 5th Street, they spotted the bank, An imposing structure looming ahead, its glass reflecting the dim streetlights like icy shards. "We start here," Samantha said, glancing at the bored security guard. "Let us see if we can find a way to get in without attracting too much attention." They slipped inside, the cold air hitting them like a wave. Most people were absorbed in their own worries, oblivious to the storm brewing around Samantha and Maya. "Remember, act normal," Maya whispered as they walked towards a cluster of desks where employees shuffled papers and answered phones. Samantha nodded, trying to keep her heart from racing too fast. They approached an employee who looked mildly approachable, a man with tousled hair and glasses perched on his nose. "Excuse me," Samantha said, forcing a steady tone. "We have some questions about our mortgage." His eyes darted to them, cautious but intrigued. "Mortgage issues can be tricky. What specifically are you worried about?" Maya jumped in. "We heard there might be some changes happening with the bank, and were just before she could finish. A loud crash echoed from the back of the building, shattering the calm. The room fell silent as all heads turned towards the sound. Samantha's chest tightened as she glanced toward the back in trance, her instincts screaming to flee. "What was that?" the employee muttered, his anxiety visible. Suddenly, voices raised and urgent filled the air, and the guard moved toward the commotion, leaving them momentarily abandoned. A flicker of panic surged through Samantha as she caught a glimpse of people rushing outside. "Sam, we need to get out of here," Maya hissed, tension etched across her face. But something pulled Samantha back. She needed answers. She couldn't let this chance slip away. "No, wait, let us see what's happening." Maya hovered, torn. "Are you crazy? This is exactly what I was afraid would happen." But before she could argue further, the employee turned back to Samantha, his expression suddenly urgent. "You need to get out of here. Trust me." His eyes were wide, filled with a wild fear that echoed Samantha's own dread. She felt a chill race down her spine as she recognized the sincerity in his gaze. "What if we can help each other?" she said, tightening her grip on hope. But the man shook his head. "There are bigger forces at play than you realize. Run now." At that moment, a sharp sound sliced through the air, shouting, panic, a scuffle. Something was happening behind the walls. Something dangerous. "Sam!" Maya shouted, grabbing her wrist. "Let us go." As they stumbled back into the now chaotic lobby, a surge of adrenaline coursed through Samantha. The stranger's voice echoed in her mind. Time was running out. She could feel it, and every heartbeat reminded her that their choice loomed closer. With one last look behind her, she sprinted into the night, dragging Maya along, the weight of uncertainty heavy on their shoulders. They could either spiral deeper into this chaos or uncover the truth so desperately sought. But which path lay ahead? Was it salvation or devastation? No answers awaited them, yet only echoes of a perilous journey that had just begun. The damp air hung thick as they hurried down the street, the shadows of the buildings closing in around them like a trap. Samantha's heart pounded relentlessly, each beat reverberating through her. She needed to think, but the loud chaos they just escaped still buzzed in her ears. How could things spiral so dangerously so fast? "Did you see his face?" That employee, Maya gasped between breaths, glancing back as if to ensure they weren't being followed. "He knew something." "Yeah, and it wasn't he good," Samantha replied, her mind racing. "What if?" "No, we can't think like that. We need to focus." Maya grabbed her arm, urgency crackling between them. They rounded a corner, the brick wall lined with peeling paint. A flickering streetlight overhead cast long, eerie shadows that danced unnaturally, sending a fresh wave of dread through Samantha. Why had she stopped? Why hadn't they just left when they had the chance? "That bank, they were hiding something, Sam. We need to find out what," Maya whispered, her dark eyes gleaming with a combination of fear and determination. Samantha paused, her gut twisted with indecision. "You mean go back? After what just happened?" Maya nodded resolutely. "If we can uncover what they're up to, maybe we can change the odds. Maybe we can find a way out of this mess." A flicker of hope ignited in Samantha's chest, a small warmth against the ice of her worry. "Okay, but we need a plan. We can't just waltz back in." As they began to formulate their next steps, a sinister noise echoed from behind them. It was low and ominous, a growl creeping into the stillness of the night. Both girls turned, searching the dark corners of the alley. "Did you hear that?" Maya whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "Yes," Samantha's stomach nodded. We should hurry. But just as they turned to leave, a figure emerged from the shadows blocking their path. A tall silhouette, a smirk etched on his face, unmistakably familiar. Thought you'd get away that easy? It was the very man they'd overheard in the bank, his presence imposing, his attitude playful. Let us pass, Maya demanded, her voice quaking yet fierce. He chuckled, eyes glinting in the dim light. You two are in deeper than you know. But I like a challenge. Tell me, where's the fun in running away? Who are you? Samantha quaked inside. The unsettling thrill that came with danger, both terrifying and exhilarating. Just a friend, he said, taking a step closer, the confidence oozing from him like an unsheathed knife. Or perhaps a new partner. You've seen too much already. Why not join the game? I promise you it won't be dull. What game? Maya shot back, her defiance sharp. Think of it, he continued, brushing the air with an almost theatrical flair. You've got nothing left to lose and everything to gain. A chance to save the house and more if you know how to play. Samantha could feel Maya's grip tighten on her arm, uncertainty swirling between them. It was a dangerous game indeed. But what if this was the answer they were looking for? His smirk widened, revealing a confidence that was both magnetic and deeply unsettling. Meet me at the old pier tomorrow night. You'll find reason to trust me, he said, backing away, shadows swallowing his figure as quickly as he appeared. Maya was already shaking her head in disbelief. No way. We're not going anywhere near him. We might not have another choice, Samantha whispered, heart thundering. The decision loomed, like gray clouds full of rain, crushing and inevitable. Before they could deliberate further, a tight knot of voices rang in the distance, the buzz of sirens growing louder. Let us move. Samantha urged, urgency reawakening. They dashed away from the alley echoes, the boy's words hanging heavy in the air behind them. And there it was, the crossroads. Stay rooted in fear or leap into the unknown. Samantha didn't know what awaited her at the pier, but she had a sickening feeling it would be a game that would shatter everything she believed as they melted into the safety of darkness. The world beyond still churning, one question hung palpable in the air. Were they stepping into light or deeper into the shadows? The next day dawned gray and heavy, as if the sky were mourning the chaotic choices already made. Samantha stirred awake, the dreamless night offering little comfort. Glancing at Maya, whose brow was furrowed with worry, she felt a wave of uncertainty crash over her. They'd agreed to meet the mysterious man at the pier, but the chilling fear of the unknown buzzed in her head like a swarm of angry hornets. Are you ready for this? Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ready or not, I think we have to face it, Samantha replied, pulling herself from the comfort of the blankets. She felt the weight of the day pressing down as if the world was urging her to play a hand, even when it felt rigged against them. The streets were eerily quiet as they made their way to the pier. Samantha could feel the old wooden boards creak beneath her every step, echoing the doubts swirling in her mind. With each stride, shadows flickered at the corner of her vision, teasing her, and she couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. When they reached the pier, a shiver crawled down Samantha's spine. The water lapped gently against the posts, but the tranquility felt sinister, as if it were a trap waiting for them to take the bait. Maybe we should turn back, Maya suggested, her voice shaky. No, we can't, Samantha insisted, her heart pounding. We need answers. If this is about the bank and whatever they're hiding, we need to know. Just then the silhouette appeared against the backdrop of the mist, emerging from the fog with an almost theatrical flair. It was the man from the bank. His smirk returned, sinister yet captivating, a mask of disarming charm. Glad you decided to join me, he said, his voice smooth like copper. You've shown a lot of courage. Or is it foolishness? Either way, it's refreshing. What do you want? Maya shot back, stepping slightly in front of Samantha, protective instinct flaring. Oh, we'll get to that, he said, seeming to relish their discomfort. But first, let me demonstrate why trust is key in this little endeavor. Follow me. He turned, walking toward the edge of the pier, his confident strides contagious. Unease tangled with curiosity inside Samantha, but the hunger for understanding pushed her forward. What do you hope to find? What's in this for us? She called out. Danger, he replied over his shoulder, pausing dramatically. An opportunity. You see, there's a lot more at stake than you realize. What's yours? Family? Belongings? The home you're fighting to keep? Samantha's heart cracked open. The mention of their family home pulled at something deep within. The memories of laughter and warmth mingling with the threat of losing it all. After the bank debacle, I thought you'd be intrigued by how one bold move could change everything. Especially for someone in your position, he continued, turning to face them fully, eyes glinting. To reveal the truth, we need to outsmart the players on the board. What do you mean? Maya asked, hesitation still evident in her voice. It's simple, he said, leaning closer, the words laced with intoxicating promises. You're in this for a reason. Trust me and we'll take down the corrupt. It's all about leverage and I'm offering you a piece. Samantha's insides twisted. Felt wrong. Yet what if this was the break they needed? A chance to fight instead of run? She held her breath, their future dangling on a razor's edge. Before she could respond, a loud crash reverberated from behind them. Instinctively, they turned to see a figure crashing through the wooden gate, eyes wild. A man with desperation written all over his face. Get back. They're coming. He shouted, panic spilling into the air. Samantha's heart sank. She glanced at Maya, their eyes wide with fear, and then back to the man who had just been so charming. The tension cracked between them, like thunder before a storm. Let us move. He commanded, eyeing the intruder. You might just need to prove your worth sooner than expected. What had they stumbled into? The shadows were deeper now, and doubt clawed at Samantha's mind. Were they truly ready for this dangerous game they had unwittingly entered? But as she saw the fierce determination in Maya's eyes, a thought formed. This was bigger than them. And whatever happened next, they had to choose whether to fight or remain victims of an unknown fate. The question loomed over them all, whispered by the winds. Were they prepared to take the plunge into a world that promised danger but also the possibility of liberation? The man's shout jolted them from their paralysis, and they squeezed together, backing away from the pier's edge. Waves crashed ominously against the wooden posts, the sound mingling with the intruder's frantic gasps as he scrambled closer. Who's coming? Maya demanded, summoning courage, though her voice cracked slightly. Those men, the stranger panted, pointing over his shoulder, his eyes bulging with terror. They're after me after the data I've got on them. I heard them say they'd come here next. You need to get out. Samantha's heart raced. Who was this man? And what kind of data? But before she could contemplate it further, the smooth-talking stranger from the bank interjected, his demeanor shifting from charming to predatory. Data can be very valuable, he said, his smile widening unnaturally. But it's also a dangerous game to play. You'll either want to join this man, or you'll need to learn what happens to those who don't. Are you serious? Maya scoffed, disbelief laced with anxiety. You're talking about putting our lives in danger for information we don't even know is real. Listen to him. The newcomer urged, his breath steadier now as he drew closer. I took pictures of everything, documents, transactions. They don't want the truth to come out. They'll stop at nothing. The man's words hung in the air, heavy as a storm cloud. Samantha felt herself wrestling with decisions she never imagined she'd face. Her family, their home, was hanging by a thread, a mere whisper away from slipping into the depths of foreclosure. Could this be how they finally fought back? The bankman stepped closer, now fixated on the desperate intruder. So what's it going to be? Do we run? Or do we make a stand together? The question landed like a brick, leaving a mark on Samantha's conscience. She studied Maya, who was biting her lip, torn between fear and the urge to fight for their future. After what felt like hours of silence, she finally found her voice. If we do this, we have to be sure. No turning back once we start. I know what's at stake, the intruder replied, conviction softening the lines of fear across his face. But do you? You have no idea how deep this goes. They're not just criminals. They're powerful. Isn't that why we should stop them? Samantha retorted, her breath catching in her throat. If your information is valid, we could expose this whole thing. Maybe save our home. But expose it to who? Maya chimed in, her tone skeptical. What if we're just putting ourselves in more danger? The sound of footsteps crunched over gravel, each thud sending icy fingers of dread down Samantha's spine. Shadows moved in the mist, their figures shifting like ghosts. They're close, the intruder warned, eyes darting toward the pier's entrance. The bankman's smirk twisted into something darker. Then we better be ready. Choose wisely, ladies, your fate is about to be sealed. Samantha shoved aside the fear mounting in her chest. The looming shadows felt like a premonition, signaling that their lives had already taken a turn into chaos. The urgency of the moment fueled her resolve, reminding her of every sleepless night spent worrying about their family home. I'm in, she said, glancing at Maya, who looked both terrified and resolute. You can't be serious, Maya whispered, desperation creeping into her voice. No more running. No more hiding, Samantha insisted, her gaze unwavering. We need to stand and fight for what's ours. A flicker of determination ignited in Maya's eyes, though uncertainty still lingered beneath the surface as the shadows approached. Samantha felt the weight of the decision settle heavily in the depths of her stomach. This was it. They were about to embark on a treacherous path, not just for themselves but for something much larger. A break of light rippled through the mist, revealing figures wearing dark coats with menacing expressions. The bankman chuckled darkly, clearly enjoying this swirl of chaos. For the first time, the stakes felt painfully real. The question lingered painfully in the air. Had they already sealed their fate? The sounds grew closer, and Samantha's heart thudded in her chest, full of a mix of dread and determination. Would they be brave enough to confront the storm brewing before them, or were they spiraling deep into a nightmare with no escape? The figures emerged from the fog, their dark coats now unmistakable against the dim light of the dock. 3 men, faces hardened like stone, moved as though they owned the shadows they cast. Samantha's heart raced, pounding in sync with the crashing waves. She felt the gravity of their danger, an unbearable weight swelling in her chest. Now what? Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper, panic straining through her words. Stay calm, Samantha urged, her own voice trembling. We stay together and figure this out. The intruder glanced at them, eyes wide with fear. We don't have time for this. We need to hide. He darted to the side of the pier, pointing to several stacked crates. The bankman smirked, retreating a step. You really think you can just disappear? This isn't a game, sweetheart. Samantha shot him a warning look. Focus. We need to move. Before she could reach the shelter of the crates, the men in coats halted just beyond the pier, surveying the area like wolves on the prowl. One of them stepped forward, a glint of metal poking out from his pocket, sending a fresh wave of terror through Samantha. What were they armed with? She held her breath. The lead man's voice was low and dangerous, smooth as ice. You think you can run? We know exactly where you are. He chuckled darkly, eyes scanning the surrounding area. We've come for what belongs to us. Samantha gritted her teeth. What do you want? That data, the man said, his grin stretching impossibly wide. The documents. You have something we need. What makes you think we know anything? Maya shot back, her brave tone cracking like glass. Because you're tangled up in this mess now, the man replied. And trust me, it won't end well for you. In that moment of distraction, the intruder moved behind a crate, his hands fumbling nervously. Samantha glanced at Maya and sensed their shared fear. They were standing on a precipice, teetering between threat and desperation. They're lying, the intruder hissed, his voice urgent. They'll do whatever it takes to keep that data hidden. Maya bit her lip, fear battling against determination. We need to buy time. We can't let them know we're afraid. Do you have any ideas? Samantha snapped, nerves fraying. Each second felt like a countdown, threading tighter with each menacing heartbeat. Just as the intruder opened his mouth to respond, the shadows surged forward, and it dawned on Samantha. This wasn't merely a confrontation. It was a chess game where everyone could become a pawn at any moment. Quick! Samantha whispered, pushing Maya toward a darkened opening near the pier, still hidden from sight. They'll never look here. Are you sure? Maya hesitated, glancing back at the men, who were now huddled together. Not sure at all, Samantha replied, her heart racing. But it's better than standing around. Let us go. They ducked behind the crates, clammy palms pressing over their mouths as muffled voices erupted behind them. The intruder crouched down along with them, his breath quickening. What now? What just happened? He asked, panic rising in his voice. Samantha held up a finger, straining to listen. The men had begun to argue, their voices clashing like thunder, overwhelming the sound of the waves. She leaned in closer, catching snippets of their heated exchange. I told you they might know, one barked. We can't let them slip away. We need to find that data before it's too late. Emotion clawed at Samantha's chest. They were enough of a threat to warrant this urgency. But what were they willing to do if they found them? Think. Samantha hissed. We need a plan. We can't confront them without knowing the full story, or what they're capable of. Just then a piercing scream sliced through the night, echoing like a siren, drawing their attention. The men fell silent, their heads snapping towards the sound, while Samantha's heart plummeted. Everyone stay close. We're in deeper than we thought, she warned, grabbing Maya's hand. With a sudden determination she stood tall, breathing in steady. I'm not going to let them bury us in fear. But would bravery be enough when the real threat was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike? The darkness clung to the dock like a shroud, the inky shadows wrapping around Samantha and her friends as tightly as a noose. The piercing scream echoed again, now mingling with the ominous silence left by the men. What had caused it? Who needed help? Do you think Maya started? But Samantha cut her off, pressing a finger to her lips. They couldn't risk making a sound. The earlier urgency in the air twisted into something thicker, more foreboding. The lead man shifted, his voice rising above the waves crashing against the pier. Enough of this nonsense. If someone's in trouble, we use it to our advantage. Samantha's heart plummeted again. Was this a tactic to flesh them out? What do we do? Maya whispered, her eyes wide in fear. We wait, Samantha breathed back, her mind racing. They needed to stay hidden. But the longer they lingered, the tighter the trap felt. The argument between the men started again, more frantic now. We can't afford to lose any time. If they have what we need, they'll hand it over to the cops, one raged. I say we. The man's voice was cut short by the sound of footsteps slamming against the wooden pier where they hid. Samantha could feel her heart in her throat as the footsteps approached, heavy and threatening. The air felt charged like before a storm. She held her breath, praying they wouldn't look in their direction. Maya squeezed Samantha's hand, her own trembling. Then the lead man spoke again, striding to the edge of the pier, peering into the dark water. I'll make this simple. You can either hand over the data peacefully, or we'll start taking drastic measures. No one needs to get hurt unless they want to. Samantha felt sick. What drastic measures could they take? They had come to the docks for something else, but clearly finding her and her friends was now priority number one. The intruder, attempting to remain calm, cleared his throat. Listen, I don't know what you think we have, but you've got it all wrong. The men exchanged glances, their eyes narrowed. Do you really want to play games with us? One of them hissed, taking a step closer. Enough. The lead man snapped. I want to ask again. Samantha's stomach coiled tighter. She had to act, and quickly. Think. She whispered to herself, the frantic rhythm of her mind competing against the imminent danger. Then it struck her, a plan, perhaps a long shot, but better than being pinned like a fly in a web. Listen, she said, her voice coming out steadier than she felt. What if we help you find it? Those words hung in the air, stirring a charged silence. The men froze, contemplating her proposition. Why would you do that? The lead man replied, suspicion dripping from his words. Because we want to get out of this alive, she answered, her heart pounding in her ears. What do you say? Maya shot her a look, a blend of shock and fear. Samantha, are you sure about this? Before Samantha could answer, the raging waves drowned her panic, and she glanced back at the men, gauging their response. Heavy footsteps echoed, and one of the men exchanged a look with the leader. All right, he replied cautiously, but you better hope you know what you're talking about. Or I swear you won't survive the next scream. As more men emerged from the fog, Samantha felt her legs tremble beneath her. She had made a deal with monsters and they held all the cards. Maya's grip tightened again, her eyes wide with panic. What now? We lead them, Samantha whispered, her mind in overdrive, but away from here. We need time to figure out a real plan. But as the group moved, slowly making their way deeper into the shadows, Samantha caught a glimpse of something flickering in the distance. A light? Or was it a trap? Follow me, she commanded, racing toward the flicker, unaware of the dangers still lurking behind them. Would this desperate gamble lead them into salvation or straight into the jaws of an even darker fate? The narrow path of the pier twisted ahead like a riddle, shadows playing tricks as Samantha's heart raced in sync with her anxious thoughts. "Stay close," she murmured to Maya and the intruder, whose breath was as ragged as her own. The flickering light danced in the distance, a beacon or a trap she couldn't tell, but hope tugged at her, pulling her forward. "Where are you leading us?" Maya whispered sharply, glancing back at the men who seemed to watch from the darkness, their intent as unreadable as the night itself. "To get us out of this mess, I hope," Samantha replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "We're not turning back now." The calling light grew clearer, revealing the outline of an old, abandoned boathouse looming ahead. "Who's there?" A voice rang out from within the structure, accompanied by a creaking door opening to reveal an older man, weathered and weary. The flickering light was from a single lantern, illuminating a narrow pathway lined with fishing gear and forgotten nets. "You lot look like you've seen a ghost. We need your help," Samantha blurted, urgency lacing her words. "We're being hunted. They want something we don't have." He squinted, sizing them up in the dim glow. "You've walked into trouble, I see. You're not the first and you won't be the last. Come inside." He stepped back to let them in, the shadows swallowing them whole. Once inside, the door slammed shut behind them with a heavy thud, sealing them from the outside world. The old wooden walls creaked beneath the weight of tension, the smell of salt water and damp wood thick in the air. "What do we do now?" Maya's voice trembled, fear dancing in her expression. "We find out what those men want, and we turn the tables," Samantha declared, her mind swirling with adrenaline. "This isn't over." The old man, who introduced himself as Edgar, nodded knowingly. "You'll need allies and you'll need a plan. They're ruthless. What they're after might be bigger than you think. Do you know anything about them?" Samantha pressed her chest tight. "They want information, but more than that, they thrive on fear. Collectively, they're a force connected deep within the city, corrupt to the core. But if you play your cards right, you can flip the script," he replied, his eyes gleaming with a hint of mischief. "What if we expose them?" Maya added, excitement fighting with fear. "People deserve to know the truth." Edgar rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "That could work if anyone will listen. But it requires a lot of careful maneuvering. We need proof of their corruption. Data, perhaps?" The intruder, who had been silent thus far, suddenly spoke up. "I have files, pictures and documents. Proof of their crimes hidden on a cloud drive. But I'll need access to a computer." Samantha froze, mind racing. "You can hack in, can't you?" "Of course. But we have to act fast. They'll be looking for me. I'm no good if caught." He breathed heavily, a spark of desperation in his eyes. "And they will come here. Then let's split up," Edgar said, pragmatism tinged by urgency. "Samantha, Maya, barricade the doors and keep watch. If they find us, it's over. I'll help him access the files." Maya glanced at Samantha, her eyes wide. "We're not going to be able to hold them off. It's what we have to do." Samantha insisted. "We're stronger together. This is our chance to save our home." She swallowed hard, the lump in her throat reminding her of everything she was fighting for. As they settled into hurried yet silent preparations, the minutes ticked by, painfully aware of the approaching storm outside. Muffled voices echoed through the cracks of the boathouse, growing louder. Samantha's pulse quickened, supply of courage both rising and dwindling at once. "It's time," Edgar said, his voice low but steady. "We just need to buy enough time to expose them. Could shatter their empire." A loud crash reverberated from the door as the darkness outside exploded into chaos. Maya jumped and Samantha felt panic claw at her insides. But this was it, their moment to fight back. "What happens now?" Maya asked, fear creeping back into her voice. "This ends here," Samantha said, her hand finding the handle of an old fishing net hanging by the door. "They took everything from us. I won't let them destroy our future." With that declaration, they positioned themselves defiantly by the door, ready to confront whatever danger lay ahead. Shadows began to creep through the gaps, and with it, a sense that they were no longer victims but warriors on a battlefield for their lives. The door slammed open. In that split second, everything changed as darkness flooded in. "We're not afraid," Samantha cried out, the ferocity in her words surprising even herself. They didn't back down. Instead, they found strength in each other. And in that moment, as the winds howled with threat, the girls stood grounded together against the storm, defiant and unyielding, The tides were turning, the men surged forward, but their eyes met Samantha's defiance and determination ignited in a fierce blaze. Right here, right now, they'd fight for the truth and everything that mattered. Every struggle, every dark hour led to this moment. The high stakes teetered, but deep within, the knowledge that they weren't powerless burned bright. Ready? Samantha asked, glancing at Maya and the intruder. Ready, they shot back in unison, their voices strong and clear. And with that, they jumped into the fray. This is the moment where we leave them, poised to change the course of their lives forever. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will take you deeper into their journey. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this community thriving. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us see what you think will happen next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Let us keep moving forward together.